it's not just an ending of a cycle.
Yeah.
There's no cycle that ends without the beginning of a new cycle.
Right. There's always the beginning.
You get to really connect with your body in a completely different way. This is all about your body and spirit communication. I remember reading it and I'm thinking, like, I'm in my 50s. Why do I not know about this?
Yeah. Like, this would have been helpful to know about earlier. Hello and welcome to The Higher Vibe. We are doing conversations with psychic friends, and today I have with me Debbie Taitel. She is the director of Spirit Light Insight. She is the writer of Insight Illuminated. She's a clairvoyant and spiritual teacher and healer and author. She's also a cat mom, dedicated to healing and inspiring the human spirit. Hello and welcome, Debbie. So good to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's this is going to be so much fun because I just want to say thanks for having me talk about such a hot topic.
It's a hot topic. I am so excited to talk about menopause and perimenopause, especially with you, Debbie. And not only because you have a lot of wisdom and knowledge about this topic from that energetic perspective, but also you've lived through it. I'm just about at the crux of it, I would say. I'm at the perimenopausal phase, but to have the wisdom of also the experience of living through it is so important. And being able
I'm still living through it.
Yes. And it continues. And to be able to see it during the process from that clairvoyant perspective and share your wisdom from that place is, it's really exciting. So happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here because the most I ever heard about menopause was just like, oh, it's hot flashes, but it's so much more than hot flashes. That's part of the kind of what the body does.
Yeah.
And I think right now, actually, there is a bit of an expansion going on where I'm starting to see people start to talk about it.
Yes.
So this is just kind of the forefront of getting into that space of what is natural and normal.
Yeah. And what's really going on.
Yeah, what's really going on?
A lot of information out there, even on that physiological level. Like you said, it's just, it's some hot flashes, maybe things change a little, but there's so much going on. So
there's so much going on, and especially it's a complete energy makeover.
Absolutely.
Like it includes intuition, intuitive flashes, bursts of creativity, clairvoyant awakenings is, what we call them, the aha moments and the wisdom downloads. And what is so amazing to me is we talk with little girls about their periods. Oh, you're going to get bloated. This is what's going to happen. You're going to bleed. This is how, this is what's going on with your body. But if we're having those conversations with little girls, why are we not having them with women in our counterparts? And I think that sometimes, aging sort of has a bad rap, right?
Yeah.
But even if someone talks about it, a little bit of a discussion, they're not going to talk about the energy aspect.
Right. Yeah. It's sorely missing.
It is sorely
conversation is what is going on in our spiritual anatomy, in our inner being when we're going through that shift.
Yeah. I started kind of looking at the energy of this when I was in my mid to late 30s. And yes, I will tell my age. I'll be, oh God, I'm going to say it. I'll be 65 in July of this year. So more than 30 years ago, I was really fascinated because, I sell real estate. That's another thing that I do. But in my real estate office, which at the time, 30 years ago, was mostly women. There were men there, but mostly women. I started to become really aware of their energy shifts. Like I was literally reading, I'm like, why are they looking so much brighter? And, what's going on then with the hot flash? And I started to see so many things happening with them. And it's amazing that the energy aspect of this, I consider a rite of passage.
Yes.
It's a time when we start to fully access our highest vibration of creative energy and our own wisdom. The parts of us that we already know from a lifetime already. No matter how long it is, whether it's 30 years, 40 years, 50 years and up. But that's when we start to really come online, so to speak, and really reboot in some ways, some things that had gotten shut off.
Right.
So one of the things that I watched with women in their 40s at the time is that is the time when women get this incredible burst of energy and creativity.
Yes.
For myself,
clarity too. The clarity of things that may have been foggy in their life before, like this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. And this energy and creativity, you'll see a lot of women get in the best physical shape of their lives. Like a lot of times they really, what's important, it's not about attracting somebody or anything like that, but just feeling good and using their actual creative energy instead of to make a baby.
Right.
They're using their creative energy to get in good physical shape. And that's one of the things that happened to me. And I just notice it with many, many women in their 40s. And then women in their 50s, and this is kind of incredible, but women in their 50s start to gather up their energy.
Yeah.
They're starting to let go energetically of, let's say, all the things that they had hoped that they would have by that age. Maybe they got them, maybe they didn't, but they start to clear out all that energy and make room for, let's say, the next phase.
Yeah.
Right?
Really letting go of what doesn't matter, what doesn't serve them,
what doesn't serve
that really aren't theirs,
right,
projects that aren't even their own.
And that's for sure the time in the 50s where there's energetic switches.
Yes.
And we start to switch from using our creative energy for having babies to our full bloom creative process.
Yeah.
And it's also why I think that so many women get into a different spiritual space at this time. I know that in my practice, my clairvoyant practice years ago, most of my clients were, let's say, over 50.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting them in their 20s and 30s and 40s, but it was interesting because they were willing to take that step and really tap into their own creative energy and that spiritual connection. And in the 50s, it kind of changed from what do I do now? To the time that the creative soul body frees itself from all the programming and constraints of our physical body.
Yeah, those switches, as you say, it's like the switches are oriented towards the body and the physical and nurturing and caring and caretaking on that physical level. Even if a woman doesn't have children, just caretaking on that physical level, right? Maybe it's for friends, for family members, certainly children if they have children. And then the switches go on. It's like, oh, I can let go of all that and open up to this whole other realm of my spiritual knowing, my intuitive self, caring for that broader level of their own being.
And presence.
Yeah.
Being and presence. When we start to see that shift, women have a different presence.
Yes.
And it's very unexplainable. It's so subtle that it's on such a subtle level that I know people have asked me, well, what do you see?
Yeah.
And it's so subtle, I can't even explain it. It's more of a presence, more of a present time space.
And
right?
Because their energy has gathered up. So it's like instead of it being scattered around, it's more contained and present. And that might be subtle, but it's very noticeable.
It's very noticeable. And what I started to see, it was funny because in bringing up the switches, and there really are switches, but there's also all these circuits in the brain. Yes. And look, I'm not a brain expert quite yet, but I'm getting there. What I always noticed, and I used to see this when I was first studying clairvoyance and in my healing classes and things like that, I actually was able to see the circuits. It looked like a literal circuit board with different color wires and, you know, then switches that came on and off. And in preparation for talking with you about this, one of the things I noticed were the different phases in life of what's used and what's not used in the circuits. And I started to see that, like, when we're babies, we're using the survival circuits. We're, you know, everything's tactile, what we see or what we feel and connecting with our bodies. And then that gets turned off because we don't need that anymore. And then so on and so forth, right up to the menopause where we're shifting our entire brain.
Yeah. Yeah. I laugh because that's one of the physiological symptoms that women often talk about is brain fog, or
Yes.
just like it feels like I can't come up with words, or things are just really disoriented. And that's why on that energetic level, there is a complete rewiring happening in
Yeah.
the analyzer, in the brain, and it's just functioning on a higher level. And so much, as you said before, the letting go, the clearing, it's like we're clearing the clutter out of
I don't know
brain.
if it's like we are.
We are. And so in that process, things feel like, wait, either disoriented, I'm not connecting with my analyzer or with that mental function the way I'm used to. So it feels like it's not working, or it feels really uncomfortable or disoriented. But then it comes online. You used that word before too. Then you really come online in a whole new way. And yeah, and a whole lot of power comes in.
And that whole new way is so much more in the upper chakras.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, this is a time that physically, like, we tend to lose muscle mass, even if we're in good shape and we're working out all the time. There is a slowdown in, let's say, recovery. And I'm just talking about on the physical level. But what happens when we start to let go of, let's say, the body parts of what happens in that space, is we really are able to tap into our creativity and that brain in a whole new way. I tell people, when I work with women and they talk about the brain fog, I actually have them ground their brain.
There you go.
Literally, just, you can clear that energy. It's not fun. And for the record, it's a real thing. Even if you ground it, you're going to lose, because it's just, it's like if you take a wire and place it somewhere, and it's short circuiting. It's not gonna work. Right. And this whole space, even all these shifts, and yes, there's hormones involved, but one of the reasons we get really weepy and super sensitive is because we're clearing out all this pain and opening up a space. Because I will tell you, because you're just starting out, and so for those of you who are just starting out, you'll know when you're really kind of, let's say, sliding into the home plate of that, when you pull up kitten or puppy videos and just burst into tears for just seemingly no reason. And then that's one way that
it's part of that. Yeah, I see it as it's part of that clearing the catch, like we talked about, clearing the clutter, not only on that mental level, just like excess unnecessary stuff is clearing, but also on that emotional level, psychic level, spiritual level, pain you've been holding on to, stuff that you maybe didn't process because you were busy tending to the physical level so much. You were busy being the caretaker, the mother or the healer for your family, or all those levels that energy as women goes out, right? And so not everybody takes the time to process the pain that they're carrying, not only of their own pain, but everyone else's that they've been caretaking for. So it's a really great opportunity to let that all go. If it takes a really cute cat video to inspire that, so be it.
I don't know what it is. I remember I was having some strange things happen to me, when it first started, and I had zero information. And I remember a woman friend on social media actually just mailed me a book, and it talked about that. It talked about all those kind of physical changes and what's happening. And I remember reading it, and I'm thinking, like, I'm in my 50s. Why do I not know about this?
Like this would have been helpful to know about earlier.
Yes, it would be helpful to know about. It was very beneficial, and if I could remember what book it was, I would suggest it. But I think it might have been The Wisdom of Menopause or something like that. But here's the thing: is that even if you're not in menopause or going through it now, or you're post-menopause, just for the knowledge, if you're in like pre or wherever you are in that process, this is really a powerful time of owning and using your wisdom and your intuition and your creativity in a much different way. That female energy just opens up, and if we allow it to freely flow, we don't even have to worry about clearing or something we have to do about it, because there's nothing wrong.
Yeah, there's no effort involved, really. It's just allowing this natural process to bring more of us in and more of us online. Just letting it be. Yeah.
I mean, I think that this kind of time is one of the most pure and honest things we go through in our lives.
It's beautiful, yeah.
And that's the other part, is so many people resist it.
Yeah.
And, look, how much time did we spend in the beginning of this while we were trying to get the lighting right and, the faces right and all of that. But because things fall,
Yeah.
boobs go
Everything
down.
physically, right? It's
Everything
like
physically
energetically, our
starts to
spirit
fall.
goes up, but our body kind of goes down.
Body kind of starts to go down. But there's also that sense of, I'm going to eat the cake.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm going to eat the cake.
I'm going to
It's
enjoy.
fun.
Yeah.
And I know for myself, and I think some other folks have gone through it in this way. Others do it differently. But for me, I actually gained weight because I was like, I don't care anymore. Forget it. I'm done. Like, I'm done. Then I realized, what do you mean you're done? You're like in your 60s. Stop it. Like, that's crazy. But it was eat the cake time.
Yeah.
I have no more F's to give.
Yeah.
It was...
That's often what I hear is like, there's just no more fucks left. Like, why would I care anymore about?
I don't care. It's really, I have no patience.
And if self-care means enjoying the things that are enjoyable to you without worrying about how others perceive you, just letting it be and enjoying, really getting to enjoy life and yourself.
And the cake.
And your body and cake, if that's what it is for you.
And your body. Listen, think about, have you ever seen the female, how the female is portrayed in, let's say, old time civilization and cultures? You never see like a very skinny, the icons of the women that are portrayed in, whether it's painted on pottery.
Yes.
Or sculptures or things that they find. The fertility god, it's all about this round and soft.
Yeah.
And this is nothing against anyone who wants to Botox and not eat. I actually know a few people who I'm like, wow, you look so amazing. And they literally tell me they don't eat at all. We're going to talk about menopause. So for whoever's like listening, Jean, actually, who's the host, got booted off.
Yeah.
And left me sitting here in
the
room.
My whole power went down in my house just long enough to kick the internet off for like 10 minutes.
That's absolutely amazing. Energy works in such weird ways that it's not surprising. The first time we were going to get together and talk about this subject, we couldn't even connect there was this huge delay in the conversation. The program wasn't working. It wasn't recording right. Nothing was happening. So we shut it down and said, you know what, let's do it in a few weeks. We'll just revisit. And then now we get booted off right at the time I'm talking about women and their bodies and getting
coming into their power,
using Botox or not eating, just so they have that perfect body and perfect everything. But so many women are doing, and again, this is nothing against a little Botox nip and tuck. Good for you.
Yeah.
Like I'm all for it.
Everybody enjoys
but you have to look at still embracing this whole piece. But it's so funny because that's where we left off, was talking about women who are really resisting menopause and the aging process. And I think that some of that has a lot to do with how we're brought up here, especially in the US. Menopause, that whole aging process, is not appreciated, respected, or embraced.
Yeah.
In Western cultures, and it is in many others. Right. And how we experience and relate to menopause is totally dependent on our culture.
Absolutely. In
Saudi Arabia and the Arabic-speaking countries, where women are in traditional roles, they have a lot of children, but then as they age, they actually move into being the matriarch of the family and caring for the grandkids and so on. But they're then revered and held to a different status. Their status improves. And as it turns out, and funny how this is, when there's no resistance, they actually don't have much in the way of menopausal symptoms.
Yeah.
Because they're making this smooth transition from one energy space to another. In Africa, the Kun tribe is a tribe where women's status also improves after menopause. They have more power and more political clout.
Yeah, within the community. Their presence as wisdom keepers and teachers is revered and held to a high esteem. Yeah.
Yeah, Native American. And there's like so many. The Native American Navajo culture women can become shamans or medicine women only after their reproductive years have ended. And again, they don't report menopausal side effects. So what's that saying?
Yeah, I know. Let's unpack that. There's a lot there. There's a lot. Some of that, like you said, has to do with there's not this resistance to the process, or maybe there's not this judgment on the process. Like,
Both.
Right. There's no resistance. There's no judgment. The culture is more oriented towards honoring women in general throughout the different phases of their life, recognizing that there's power in each of those phases and giving women the space to have that power.
Yeah. And creativity. Although I see power and creativity as one and the same. Yeah. I want to kind of point out, though, that when we talk about power, we are not talking about power over something.
Right.
We're talking about our own personal power, our stand in your truth power. Again, not my truth is better than your truth. It's not a division. It's about the wholeness of standing body and spirit.
Yeah, in alignment.
As far as I see it. So I also see that creativity is part of our personal power.
Yes.
Because when we have all of our energy, it's so funny. I want to say all of our energy ducks in a row.
Yeah, aligned. I was going to say when we're aligned, we're connected.
When everything is aligned, we are whole and complete. And that's what's the most powerful thing in the world. It's the most beautiful thing in the world when you see a woman standing in her power with her creative processes going as she is, with the confidence and all the wisdom that she has to offer. It's the most stunning thing ever.
Yes.
So you want to talk about the hot topic?
Yeah, it is a hot topic. Apparently, we're not supposed to be talking about this, Debbie.
Oh, we are not supposed to be talking. And you know what? Therefore, I love talking about it. And in fact, I think I'm going to be writing something about it as well, because it's just so inspiring to talk about. But what about these dang hot flashes that are so annoying?
Why do women, what is going on energetically when a woman experiences hot flashes?
Well, other than the normal, what the doctors will tell you, because it is hormonal. Our hormones begin to shift because we need all those hormones to have babies.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
We're filtering out unneeded hormones.
We're shifting out of all that unneeded stuff.
Yeah.
But there's two parts, because I'm not a doctor and I don't even want to go into, let's say, the physical part of it. I just see it as that yes, it's part hormonal. But what I see energetically is it is our Kundalini energy turning on to clear all that stuff that we want to clear.
Yeah.
Now,
so for folks
or release, actually.
So for folks that want a little bit more understanding of what Kundalini is, or tell us about Kundalini a little bit more.
So Kundalini is a natural, loving, healing, and enlightening energy. Okay. And this energy, there's two channels that run up our spine. There's the hot one and the cold one.
Yeah.
And what Kundalini does, because I know people sometimes get really scared of Kundalini because there's information out in the spiritual community that, oh my God, you're going to destroy yourself if you turn on your Kundalini. And I don't know if you ever had a class on Kundalini, an energy class.
Yeah.
But we learn how to turn down our Kundalini.
Yes.
All the way down. And I actually used that the whole time. And I really didn't have too many hot flashes until much, much later on. And that's kind of a different issue. But it's a loving and healing energy. And what it does is it starts to burn off all the energy and pictures and pain that have been stuck in our bodies and even in our energy systems. Yeah.
That's a good thing. Let it go.
Let it go. Release it. And one of the results is you start to trust your intuition more and in a deeper way as you connect. And to most people, like when they experience their natural Kundalini, it's just kind of a wave of divinity that opens new pathways. Some talk about it being sexual energy, but it's all about just focusing on that and just letting it flow.
Yeah.
let it do its job and burn off whatever energies you're ready to burn off. I see all these as energetic helpers.
Yeah.
And honestly, to be clear, I have cold flashes, not hot flashes.
So it's not always hot, right? Because like you said, there's those two channels. There's the central channel too, and then those two, the hot and the cold. And so it could be cold flashes. It could be if you've got that moon channel, the cold channel, more active, moving energy.
Yeah.
It's chilly.
And that's kind of more miserable, I have to say. I mean, a hot flash, at least you can take off your clothes, get down to shorts and a tank top and eating your cake all the while you're doing it. Yeah. But the cold one, oh my gosh, because it's like from the inside out. It's really hard to explain. It's
like you can't get warm enough because it's coming from inside.
It's inside. I could never get warm enough. So there were times when I'd come home and open the windows on a 90-degree day and put on a sweatshirt, like literally I'd put on a sweatshirt and just try to heat up all my body. So yeah, hot flashes weren't. Night sweats is one thing. When I first started having night sweats, which I think was probably in my 30s, because really our hormones start to go down by the time we're in our 30s. So it was about mid 30s. And I remember that studying energy, I noticed that the hot flash per se was like only at my fourth chakra. I would literally be sweating right in the middle of my chest in that affinity energy center. Wow. And I mean sweating just right from there.
Yeah.
And then I felt it here, there were times that I felt it right in my throat that it was only like, when I say wet, I mean like wet coming from one area.
Wow. This reminds me of so many stories I've heard from other women of describing menopausal symptoms, and it's like, well, it's all over the place. It's anything and everything, right? It's like because it's unique to every woman, and it's how when that Kundalini energy is moving, where is it clearing the blocks? What kind of energy is it clearing? It's going to produce a different symptom in each person, and so to describe the symptoms, it's like, well, name something. It's like
right. We don't know. Like,
you can't put it in a box. You can't define the symptoms really. Yes, there's this general, hot flashes, but like you said, could be cold too. And it could be just in one location, and
could be,
what do you need? All day, could be on and off.
And that's when we ask, well, what is it that we need to heal as we enter these spaces?
Yeah.
And also, are we in any competition with our mother and where our mother was at any particular age that we match?
Right. Or with other women, like, is there, or with ourselves, are we in competition with our bodies? Like, it can't be this way. It has to be this way.
So that, I think maybe we're getting to the reason why we don't talk about this because people don't like it when there's not definitive, tell me what to do, tell me what the answer is.
Yeah. Clear cut. And there's this, and then there's this.
There's this, and then there's this. And everybody's going to have a different experience. And there's going to be experiences that aren't even, sort of written in the books or have been talked about before because people don't realize that it's a menopausal symptom. I'll tell you one that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that is, I went to the gynecologist and she just, did her thing and I was bleeding all over the place. And I hadn't had a period in a long time. And it was about, I want to say it was 5 or 6 years after menopause ended. And I didn't know that there was a thinning of the vaginal walls immediately after menopause that comes on about 5 years after menopause.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I'm sharing that with all of you, a very personal thing, right? But that's because not one person ever told me about that.
Right.
And I was thinking I'm bleeding to death. What's going on?
Oh, no.
It's just a pap smear.
Yeah. And it caused profuse bleeding, and that would be scary. And so did she just react like, oh, that's normal? But even if you had never...
Pretty much. And actually, I said, well, what's the solution here?
Yeah.
And she said, oh, don't worry. It's a vaginal cream. It helps build up the walls of the vagina. And so she gave me a cream. And I went to a compound pharmacy and had it done. And I remember calling them and saying, okay, what's in this? if I'm going to have to take this for a while or,
I'll be
put this in
doing
my body for a while. And they said, oh, estrogen and cream.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, but that's really all it is. It's estrogen and it builds up. And then there's actually other things, like there's little tiny itsy bitsy little pellets you can put it, but it's all very, very helpful, because I thought, in fact, the reason I had gone to her that time was because I thought I was having breakthrough bleeding.
Yeah.
And one of the things you have to kind of watch for with menopause is that you don't, let's say, lose your physical female parts, right? Those can go through a lot of changes too.
Yeah.
So there's so much, and I'm still learning. It doesn't get any easier. But so far, so good. Since I learned that, I was a lot happier. And then I have to say, I handled my menopause just with herbs, with over-the-counter herbs, until I couldn't.
So for some women, there's the need for support on that hormonal level.
Yeah, because it can also work on that brain in some different levels, where you hit this depression, and that's really because the body says, whoa, we're missing this thing.
Yeah. It's a huge adjustment. Yeah.
And it's a big adjustment. So, I mean, I have to say, just from my own experience, so these are not necessarily the views of the entire world. You do you. You do you. Menopause is you do you.
Your path. Yep.
Your path, whatever you have to do. But I can tell you from my standpoint, hormone replacement therapy is magical.
Yeah. I think each woman has to decide for themselves what's going to work and what they're comfortable with. And I've heard stories from all across the board. Women that swore they would never ever use that, and then actually that's what's working, right? So that's what they're going to do. And then women who swore like, oh, I'll just do that, and then it's like, oh, actually that's not working for me. So it's
like so individual.
So
I mean, listen, and I handled it with just herbs.
Yeah.
It wasn't a problem until it was. And in fact, I was probably, I want to say I was almost 8 years past menopause before I started taking hormone replacement.
So during the actual transition, herbs, everything was supporting you just
fine. I took over-the-counter menopause, it was like menopause support, which is, what is that? Ashwagandha. There's a
lot of herbs, yeah.
So and it was sort of a proprietary mixture.
Yeah.
And it was actually by accident that I started taking hormone replacement. I was just like, well, let's try it. It was and I went, oh, wait.
So it was years later that you were having other symptoms, and that's when you accidentally tried.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So I got through, let's say, the symptomatic part, but then it just started to get to the point where I just wasn't functioning as me.
Yeah.
And what was funny is I recently asked my doctor, because, I'm getting older and I'm still on it since, like 10 years now or whatever. And I asked her, and she laughed at me, and she said, oh, I have clients that have said to me, you will be prying my estrogen out of my cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
So God bless my gynecologist for sharing that.
That's funny.
So, but I think everybody's going to do what they need to do, and I am not here to judge what anybody does, no matter what it is. However, you want to go through this period of time. But what I can tell you is, regardless of what you choose, resistance doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's also a space where you get to really connect with your body in a completely different way. This is all about your body and spirit communication, your body and spirit love, our inner child, our inner teacher, our inner healer and caregiver. And isn't it a nice time to maybe turn the tables? And it's not that you don't care for others. Of course, you're going to care for others however you do, but that you actually get to include yourself in this process. And I think that's really important, that we include our bodies, we include ourselves.
Yeah. And even if that's something we've been practicing before going through menopause, which a lot of women haven't. A lot of women haven't had the space to really include themselves in their own care, right? Their own process. But even if you have, there's a deepening of that self-care. There's more space, there's more permission, and there's more of a need for it. And you get to really deepen into what does that deep self-care look like on the physical level, on that inner emotional level, on that inner soul level too. Like, what am I letting go of on a deeper soul level? And if in that process, because like you said, it's not a little window of time, it keeps going.
It keeps going.
It keeps going. So if in that process there are other tools that need to come online to support you, just like you said, don't resist. Just be with what is true and correct for you. Follow your intuition. Really continue to get to know yourself.
Absolutely.
And know that it's a journey. It sounds like menopause is not just a short window.
It is not a short window. Well,
physiological shift we call menopause, the ending of the cycle, but these changes continue. So,
well, it's great that you just said that, because it's not just an ending of a cycle.
Yeah.
There's no cycle that ends without the beginning of a new cycle.
Right. There's always the beginning. Yeah.
And there's always the beginning and the space to better understand your own creativity. What is it that you want to do? You've had your babies, you had your career, you had 6 marriages. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Whatever. You didn't get married. You chose not to have any of those things. But then what is it that you want?
Yeah.
I mean, I really didn't even start doing my clairvoyant work, so to speak, more than now. And I've taught classes on menopause and aging. I've taught classes on the goddess, which actually that's all a part of it. Yeah. We are connecting with our goddess, that intrinsic part of our female energy, and probably bringing into better balance our male and female energy, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
more balance, and just really bringing in that deep feminine wisdom that is the goddess energy, right? That transcends how that manifests physically, but into that higher spiritual level of yeah, more access to that. Love it.
That is what it's all about.
Yeah. Like you said too before with the cake example, I loved your cake example. I want to get back to that, because to me that points to giving ourselves more permission to include ourselves in our caring, especially on that level of pleasure. The female body, we're just so geared towards pleasure, right? And when you brought up the example of the art in antiquity, when I look at those women, like for the most part, they really look like they're in a pretty pleasurable space.
It's right? That voluptuous,
or like that energy of pleasure, simple, just enjoying whatever it is really palpable. It's really alive in those paintings. And I think when we're younger and when we're in a phase of our lives where we're having a cycle, so much of that pleasure again is oriented towards caring for others. We might have little windows of time to experience our own pleasure, but it's always about the giving too. And right. There's this huge window of opportunity and space and permission that opens up in the later years during and after menopause, where that pleasure is like, oh, what is it that I do really enjoy? And it might look selfish to others. Maybe that's why we're not supposed to talk about this. But it's really just that deeper inclusion of our process of self-love, including how much more pleasure can we enjoy? Again, not from this like stroking of the ego space, but just enjoying our bodies as they are, enjoying ourselves as we are.
And enjoying life.
Enjoying life to the fullest. Yes. I think that supports women in easing the symptoms too. Is with Kundalini, the Kundalini is really like opening up that whole inner life channel. It's really this life force energy and opening us up to more of our pleasure. So if we can allow that, breathe with it and let it move, and I do believe the symptoms shift and aren't as intense because we're not fighting them. As you said, resistance does not.
Right. The resistance in that space, it
creates more pain.
Yeah, exactly. It creates more pain and more of kind of what we don't want to have happen. But it still has always fascinated me that what we talked about a little bit earlier about the different cultures who don't have menopausal symptoms.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Very curious.
That
and
they're
beautiful.
waiting to step into their wisdom and because women are the wisdom keepers. Even in history, if you look, there's women's circles and the women tell the stories. The women are the ones who keep the stories, the family stories.
Yeah.
All of that is kept alive through their being able to share that wisdom. So embrace that menopause.
Yeah.
It's there for you to embrace. It's there for you to have, and to have more of your body and more of your wisdom and more of your intuition, and decide what you want to do.
Right.
There's a reason Grandma Moses, was it, who became a painter and became this very famous painter in her
life. Yeah.
elder years, and so many other women. And look at, there's an Instagram, I don't remember her name, but they call her Accidental Icon. I think she's in her 80s or something like that. And she started dressing in all these just amazing fashions, and she became incredibly famous.
Love it. Yeah.
With 1 million followers. Who knows? I don't remember, but I'm sure it's Accidental Icon.
Yeah. It sounds like she was enjoying herself and enjoying life.
She was just enjoying herself and turned into this like supermodel at this age. And so that's part of the creative process of all of this.
And when I look at that, it's like there's no effort. She's just enjoying, right? That's so much part of the feminine wisdom, is not being in effort, which is resistance. So I look at that as this can really inform our approach to menopause, is like, go with the process, right? Be in a space of surrender, let go of effort and resistance, let go of trying to figure it out, right?
Work with it. Yes, work with it. Let it work for you. You know, I tell people all the time in a class, when I'm teaching them how to ground.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing. I'm like, let the grounding work for you.
Right. Yeah.
Just let it clear stuff for you. And they're like, what do you mean? I got to push it down?
Yeah, don't work for it. Don't be in
I
for
got to do
it.
something about it. And by the way, this doesn't mean we're not going to have moments where we totally resist it.
Right.
Where we absolutely,
yeah.
It's not about that.
Yeah.
You're going to hit those moments. And one of the things that you will do in menopause, and I will guarantee you this, is you will grieve.
Yeah. Yes.
You hit a certain space at a certain time.
Yeah.
That there is a ton of grief that comes out.
Absolutely.
And some of it is from past women in your life who have moved on, that you held on to. But some of that is really for yourself. Yeah. And your spirit, and that's okay to cry. But if I could give
former self too, when I think about those phases of a woman's life, sometimes they're referred to as maiden, mother, crone. And during the crone years, you're letting go of the mother. If you never let go of the maiden, you're letting go of the maiden as well. You're really stepping into that crone space and letting go of all those former identities and letting go of anything you feel like you shoulda, coulda, woulda during that time.
Right. And so you're grieving for all of that.
Yeah.
And if I were to give any advice to anybody out there during that time, is because there's so little information about menopause, call your dang friends.
Yeah.
Call your friends, talk to a friend, have a conversation about it, talk to them about your grieving. I believe that's how I got the book sent to me in the first place that I referred to earlier, is because I was just literally in grief and could not understand it. I'm like, I'm a happy person. Why am I grieving so much? It was awful. And just watching the pictures go, what I was releasing, what I was clearing, and I can't believe I'm never going to get married, or I'm never going to, there's no such thing. It's just the energy in the pictures that we're letting go.
Everything we're letting go of. Yeah. Grief is that experience of loss. So anytime we're having our human experience that feels like we're losing something or have lost something, that's what we get to feel, is that grief. And as long as we allow it and let go of all of that, then we can be in a new space afterwards, right? Grief is really such a cleanse.
This whole conversation was a cleanse.
Menopause is a cleanse. It's just all a big, cleansing of our being.
It's one of the biggest cleansings we actually go through as women. We don't have those times when every time we have our period, we go and we get anointed back in the pools, and revitalized by the shaman or the high priestess or, remember those past lives?
Oh, yeah.
That you had your period.
I prefer some of those, but yeah. It's a little less ceremonial now. I think it's beautiful, and I honor that some mothers create more beauty and ceremony around all of those transitions for their daughter, and that's wonderful and beautiful. But yeah. It's just like, oh, that's happening.
Well, that's it.
Or don't talk about it, right?
As long as we don't.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that aging is taboo.
Mm-hmm. Bodies are taboo. You're not supposed to it's becoming more talked about. It definitely was taboo to talk about periods or mention bleeding in any kind of public way. And now I even see it in films and media. It's like, okay, this is obviously happening. Let's talk about it.
Hey, listen, even Oprah's doing a special on menopause.
Great. Interesting.
That's coming up.
Yeah. But will she talk about Kundalini?
Pretty much thinking she will not talk about Kundalini and hot flashes.
And opening up of the intuition and...
So there's so much more to unpack with the intuition part of it and the energetic part of it. And, I can teach you how to turn down, and Jean can too, how to turn down your Kundalini and really lighten those hot flashes. But you have so much right now to look forward to, no matter where you are in that space. And you start to clear all that programming out and all of the stuff that says, this is what you need to do. One of the things you'll find out is whatever some of that programming is has a lot to do with maybe somebody told you their truth and it's not true. I know I learned a lot. Oh, you're going to grow up, you're going to go to college, you'll get your, you might get your degree, but you'll probably get married before that. And then you'll have kids. And, especially in my, my age group, right? Yeah. I was like, wow, that was a big fat lie. I spent a lot of years and effort looking for that husband or looking for that, that person and all that comes with that, all that effort. And then finally one day I was like, well, that's just, no.
Yeah. That's not
I didn't need to do all that.
Yeah. We each have our own path. Yeah.
And apparently this is mine. I'm a spiritual teacher and teaching classes on this and other subjects and writing and who knows where it goes.
Rocking the real estate world in Chicago.
Yeah, well, I don't know about rocking that. I've been teaching so many classes and having so much fun with my clairvoyant development classes. And they're now just really getting online, with themselves and really learning. And it's been so exciting.
Yeah. Your focus and your passion is on the spiritual teaching. And that's what's coming online for everyone right now. The whole planet is being called to really awaken spiritually. So good. Yeah. You're available and ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it. You're ready for it.
We are.
We're doing this. We're ready for it, and we're here to get everyone else more ready for it and give them their own tools to be able to discern the truth from the lie.
Yeah.
Programming.
I don't really know how anyone navigates the matrix without spiritual tools.
I don't know either, but I think that is actually one of the things that's happening right now on the planet with all the mental illness.
Yeah.
Is that people don't know how to ground and they're just channeling all these different energies and rage and all kinds of things. And it's not that wasn't there before, but it seems to be amping up because it's one thing if everybody's living in the same illusion by all agreement. It's another thing when we take a step up in our evolution to heal all these spaces, which means that all that other stuff that's been in the illusion, it's like a balloon popping and suddenly we're, as you said, the matrix.
Yeah.
And so I agree. I don't know how anybody's navigating, especially right now without these tools.
Without spiritual tools. If you aren't really centered and aware and you don't let go of energy, you don't ground, you don't clear all the crazy programming that you're being bombarded with, it would be very painful, and it would manifest as various levels of mental illness or physical illness or just general overwhelm and dysfunction because, it's crazy out there.
All of the above. I mean, it's all of the above.
It is.
And it's, we're just in a time of great transition and stepping out of the bubble illusion of, everything's happy, happy, fine, fine, Stepford life, because it never was that.
No. It's always been crazy. It's just more obvious now.
Yes, and obvious to more people.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's so important that we're bringing it back to spiritual tools, though. I wanted to say to any woman hearing this, whether you're going through menopause now or it's going to happen at some age in your life, or you've already been through it, having spiritual tools to navigate that really important window of time in your life, how much more you could have that process with ease, with deeper understanding, with just greater clarity, and a lot less fighting the symptoms and more trusting the process, right? And having the changes as an empowering, enlightening process and experience. That's where it's at for me. Like, this can be a good thing. This can be an exciting thing. This can be an empowering experience. I just want women to know that that's possible and encourage them to embrace the whole process and the pleasure there as well. What would you like to leave? Any words of wisdom that you'd like to leave with about menopause, about spiritual tools?
Say hello to your body. A simple tool that some of us forget sometimes. We move through life without saying hello to our bodies. So say hello to your bodies and say hello to wherever you are in that process, because you're going to get there at some point. In fact, if you're listening to this, really just say hello to your body and listen to your body. See what it needs, see what it wants. Self-care, all of that is going to come into play. And when you get the wrinkles, you can do that. Or, you can
embrace it. Embrace the wrinkle.
Embrace the wrinkle. Well, I don't embrace my wrinkles quite yet. Yeah. But I think, that's what I would leave people with, is that whatever you're going through, it's all the natural part. And really just say hello to your body and say hello to your wisdom and start to just let yourself let go.
Yes.
I know, it's so simple. It seems like I should be saying more.
But it is so simple. I find that that's the key to all spiritual tools and practices, is that it is really simple. Just that the world is so complex, and when we match that, we think there's more to do, more effort we need to put into it, or something we're supposed to figure out or unlock. It's like, oh no, it's really very simple. Say hello and let go.
Say hello and let go. Yeah. That's perfect. And I just want to thank you for having me on for this hot topic.
This is such a hot topic. Thank you so much for going there with me, despite all of our technical difficulties and apparently energetic bumps in the road.
But we've been laughing about it.
We did, yeah.
No stress.
I know. It was so hilarious because I've never had the electricity go off in our house before. That's literally never happened. And there's no storm out. Like, there's no other explanation for it other than the energy was like, nope.
Well, you know what? When two powerful women gather,
yes,
it can blow out some stuff.
It can blow some fuses, apparently, or
blow some fuses.
Or whatever happened. Yeah. Especially because we're really here to encourage and support all women to embrace their power and step into that higher and greater level of power that this time of menopause is really the doorway into. So we're cheering you all on out there. See if the world can handle it.
See if the world can handle it. And you know what? I should probably just say, make it magic.
I love it. Yes. Yes. So pretty, Debbie. Look at that.
I know. My friend sent me this and she's like, you need a magic wand.
Yes. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for having this conversation.
Jean. This has been a blast.
Today. Yay. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Share this with friends. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.